Let's take a look at our first example in this series of videos, and you can see that I continue to introduce these saving and loading context dictionary to and from file, and this should be a direct help with your current project programming project assignment. So this first sample is just simply a copy from the previous week, the program that saves dictionary structure into a file. Let's just simply go ahead and execute this program, and I'm expecting that it will save the information, and it creates this file. Right now it has created this file that looks all familiar with the saved dictionary items. Okay, so what could potentially be wrong, or what should we expect in terms of like proactive thinking about possible errors that could be associated with this section of the code that writes into the file? Well, first of all, we could just simply run out of space on our hard drive or on our removable drive or a cloud drive. In all these situations, obviously, there will be an error reported. The second type of error may be, for example, is that if I go to the properties of this file and set a read-only attribute, my file system permits to set a read-only attribute, which essentially is a signal that the user wants to protect the information in the file, and the user decided that the user doesn't want to, doesn't want other programs to delete this file or write into it. And so I'm just going to click apply and OK. So this just changed, and we ran this program multiple times in the previous series of videos. And now when I run it, you can see that what is being reported here by Python program is this permission error. So what is this permission error? Permission error is predefined in Python library as many other types of errors. And when a condition basically is detected by Python interpreter at runtime, that something prevents the normal flow of program execution, interpreter creates a special type of object. It's called an exception object. This exception object is a little blob of data which is designed to encapsulate, to capture the situation that caused the problem, for example, division by 0 or index out of bounds, right? We have an array of 3 elements, but we're trying to access an element that doesn't exist. There will be an index error. Here we have this permission error associated with writing into the file. So permission error could be caused by, like I just said, the attribute is set as read-only on this file. But in other situation, the user could simply have no permission to write on the current into the current directory on the drive, and so it would fail in a similar manner. In my case, this permission error tells me that opening a file for a writing failed. So there were no attempts to write anything, but on opening this file, there was the permission denied, the condition has arisen. So the exception mechanism is a way, the methodology that Python and other programming language environments are using to report errors. So there are basically 3 stages in handling errors with this exception methodology. First of all, interpreter detects a condition which prevents program from normally executing. The first step is to create an object. It's called an exception, and the interpreter chooses which of these predefined exception exceptions is suitable for our situation. So here we're reporting error number 13. This is reported by the file system, and the permission error is our Python exception object. The next stage is that Python interpreter begins to propagate this exception through the actively through the chain of functions that are being currently called. We don't have any functions in this example. We just have like main module level of execution, just the statements without any functions being called. So here immediately, if at this level we don't do anything to handle this exception, basically to respond to it, the program simply crashes. And you can see in my command window environment, I simply get this output from a Python interpreter that tells me that there's this a list of calls that was made, and in our case is just only our file on the stack of calls, and we get this permission error. So the next question is what we could do about this. As we'll see in the next video, we can actually handle this exception and say we are expecting this to happen, and we will prevent our program from crashing. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate that. But these are the three stages. Step number one, an exception object is created. Step number two, it's propagated through the active set of calls. And then if somewhere in the call chain, we intercept this exception and we say, okay, we can handle it, we can do something about it. Unless that happens, which is handling the exception, then the program crashes. So we have exception creation, propagation, catching the exception, or alternatively, the program crashes. So let's see how we could handle this type of exception in our next demonstration.